My name is Gam Shimray, and right now I'm working with the Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact that is based in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. And when we talk about access and benefit sharing issue under the framework of the Convention on Biological Diversity, and within which the main issue is on the development of the international regime on access and benefit sharing. So when we talk about that, we have to first understand the background as to why this so-called access and benefit sharing and the international regime emerged. In this context, I would like to say that there was this whole issue of biopiracy or biocolonialism, as some people call it, by the developed countries or the northern countries from the southern countries. Now today the southern countries are therefore known as the provider countries. So over the years, because of this, there has been a lot of conflict of interest between the north and the south. And because of this tension, there was a necessity to regulate or to control or to prevent what we call this biopiracy or the theft of knowledge. And it is in this context that the developing countries really felt the need for having a regime in this regard. So it was in this regard that under the CBD, the whole concept of access and benefit sharing and the international regime emerged. In the beginning, I just want to briefly say that they developed a non-binding guideline known as the Bonn Guideline. But the developing countries were not satisfied with this because it's non-binding, and most countries were actually not implementing or respecting this whole Bonn Guideline on access and benefit sharing. Therefore, the move to develop an international regime that would be legally binding started, and therefore the working group on access and benefit sharing was formed. But while talking about access and benefit sharing, there is the other side of the story, which is the indigenous peoples. Because from the indigenous people's point of view, this biopiracy or theft of knowledge and the genetic resources and all these plants and biological resources that we're talking about actually is happening from the indigenous territories, waters and lands. So there is this dimension. It's not just about the north and south, but the dimension of the indigenous peoples is really the key if you really want to prevent biopiracy or theft of knowledge. But then the main issue is that the framework under which the international regime is being proposed naturally by the nation states is all about developing a framework of protection by using the intellectual property rights system, which is under the WTO, what we call the TRIPS, trade-related intellectual property rights systems. Now there is just a lot of problem in this regard because indigenous knowledge does not fit into this whole concept of the intellectual property rights systems, because it bases on individual property rights and not on the collective, whereas the governance of the knowledge and management of resources, regulation, sharing, everything occurs at the collective level within the community. Therefore, there is this threat that by instituting a framework that is based on individual rights, property system can break up the knowledge systems or fragment the knowledge systems, and thereby this will also inversely affect the social fabric, cultural fabric, and the political fabric, including the environmental relationship that indigenous peoples talked about. So this is the real key issue that we are talking about when we're negotiating on the international regime on access and benefit sharing. So like this time when we had the Asia Regional Preparatory Meeting, the main issue has revolved around this. And some of the key issues is the recognition of indigenous people's rights, which has to be incorporated, without which we cannot defend the biopiracy regulation or control or continue the sharing of knowledge as we used to share before. So in relation to these rights is also the prior informed consent and the mutually agreed terms. In relation to this, to facilitate this, we are proposing that there has to be a community protocol which is set up by the indigenous peoples themselves and takes into account the customary law, procedures, value systems, and so on. And this becomes as the basis of regulating access and sharing benefits, if at all there will be benefit sharing. So these are the key issues, and these will be the issues that we'll be fighting it out or battling it out with the governments in the coming ABS 8. So this will be the main issue that we'll be kind of negotiating in Montreal in November. Thank you.